After looking back over all of the AUs I've done so far, I've noticed a lot of people are invested and are begging me to do update videos, which I can assure will happen. But for the anxious individuals, the next AUs I'm working on are about Total Drama Island and whatever's the most common, and a little bonus video about Evil Sonic. But without further ado, let's dive into the world of Gumball. So the show takes place in a city called Elmore, where a loving family called the Wattersons reside, going on adventures which mostly include a young cat named Gumball Watterson and his adopted walking goldfish brother, Darwin. But everything is super exaggerated, and the laws of logic and physics are often broken. And in this story, a disturbing obsession with spreading happiness transpires across Elmore Junior High, changing the meaning of happiness and joy in the world of Gumball forever. We start off with the main character, Anais Watterson, and Darwin walking through the halls of Elmore, with Darwin saying to Anais, "Look, we've faced tough situations before, and we've always found a way to overcome them. Even though he's missing, I'm sure he's completely fine and safe. It's just a hug from Dad." That's when Anais says, "And look what that hug cost. Do you not see the damage? This is serious. You've seen their students infected. We don't know what more damage it can do. So we need to get out of here immediately, Darwin, even if it means leaving Gumball behind." Look, I want to find Gumball too, but we just can't risk it without any help on our side. Let's just please stay together. And as she continues to walk, Darwin sits there, worried about Gumball, until he hears some very heavy breathing down his gills.
Please go. Save yourself.
Now, if you're familiar with the amazing world of Gumball, there's an episode called The Joy that takes place during Season 2. An episode where a weird, contagious laughter spreads throughout Elmore Junior High, making everyone unnaturally happy and smiley in a creepy, zombie-like way. Gumball and Darwin try to resist it, but eventually fail. And when they get infected, it's revealed that Miss Simeon started it all, for literally laughing for the first time in decades, which was so powerful it became contagious. Luckily, by the end of the episode, the outbreak did eventually fade away. And as we continue, I hope you can see that this AU takes clear inspiration from that episode. Now we're taken back to the first day the outbreak started, where Richard Watterson, Gumball's father, is asleep on the couch in the afternoon. And sooner or later, Gumball's mom walks in and realizes the kids aren't home, and it's been well over since school ended. So she asks Richard, "Where's the kids?" And he says they might be hanging out after school like they usually do, but I'm sure they'll come back home, don't worry about it. And Nicole says, "Yeah, you're right. Maybe I am just overlooking this." But what Nicole didn't know is later that night, multiple children would not leave that school, including hers. Starting off, we're shown Anais's note journal, where she's been recording data or stats on the characters that she's ran into. Starting out with Masami, who is infected, which is kinda alarming, and actually makes this infection way more dangerous than I thought, because this is a literal cloud. And infections or viruses usually target various parts of the body, including specific cells, tissues, and organs, which clouds do not have. Which makes me wonder if finding a cure for this thing is actually possible. And not only does it mention that she's foaming out the holes of her body, but also that her speed has increased and she has become very aggressive. It also seems that she's in the third stage of the infection, but judging by the question marks present on the paper, it doesn't seem that Anais is actually confident in this analysis. Unfortunately, Banana Joe is also infected in stage 2, and the virus is spreading throughout his body, with one of his eyes being bigger than the other. And it's also said that he was crying for help, saying, "I can't stop smiling." It's even said that he's lost a lot of blood, which I'm guessing isn't actually blood, because within the show, he does get hurt a lot. and there's no blood. So I'm guessing in this case she's just talking about his banana residue. The principal of Elmore has gotten way taller and way bigger, and because of his infection is losing a lot of hair and become way more aggressive. And before Darwin told Anais to run for her life, he was actually good and not infected. But now Anais, who's sitting in the hall hiding, has just updated her journal to put him as missing and his status of healthiness unknown. And that's when Anais hears some walking coming down the hall. And as the steps get closer, ready to fight for her life, she puts up her mask and grabs her bat. And as she turns the corner to swing, she's greeted by Carmen the cactus, who yells out to her,
No, wait, I'm not affected.
Carmen?
Huh?
And they begin to go back to hiding in the hall, with Carmen telling Anais, I'm scared and everything's happening so fast. And Anais basically tells her, here, I'll tell you everything, just take this mask. Take a moment and notice how Alan the balloon is being carried by her. Seeing how he's currently deflated, he's most likely not handling this infection situation pretty well. Eventually, the three of them end up in the nurse's office, where it seems that Darwin and Anais were hiding out earlier. And while looking at the board, Carmen would ask, what is all this? What does it mean? And Anais basically tells her that she's been doing research and found out the virus is moving and spreading faster than they could ever imagine, and tells her the infected are not just like zombies. No, they're more than that. They're mindless, happy, joyless monsters. And I call this thing the Joy Virus. She also revealed that her and Darwin are looking for a cure, but she didn't really bring up Darwin. She just had a short pause, which kind of worried Carmen, so she asked what happened, and she really avoided the question because of how hurt she is about what happened with Darwin. Fast forward, it's now 12:03 midnight, and Nicole and Richard Watterson have been looking for their kids for about 2 hours now after calling the police and finding out that they couldn't even find a trace of where the kids are at. And Richard came up with the idea to go to the school to at least find something there. Nicole decides to go in, and Richard says, I can't let you go in there by yourself, it's too risky. And that's when Nicole says, you know, Richard, marrying me, you'll find yourself in positions like these. And once they went in, they never came back out. Now, while inside, Nicole is complaining about how the police suck at finding the kids, while Richard, who's scared out of his mind, falls behind her. And after looking inside of a classroom, Richard starts to hear little footsteps and says, huh? Wait, look out! And it's infected Banana Joe, running at them with his mouth open, who eventually gets stepped on and squished out, repeatedly over and over again, until Richard yells at her to stop. And then she says, I didn't mean... Meanwhile, back in the nurse's office, Anais is being told by Carmen that she put Alan in a Ziploc bag, and then asks once again, what happened to Gumball and Darwin? Which eventually gets cut off by screaming, which Anais can definitely tell is her dad, who with Nicole ran into two more infected creatures, who was once Leslie the Flower, Gumball's girlfriend's cousin, and Jamie Russo, who was the school's bully. And as Leslie reaches up to bite them, Anais comes out of nowhere and smashes her head in over and over again. And that's when infected Jamie walks up and takes her bat. And left with no options, Anais looks over at Carmen and grabs her as she yells, Anais, what are you doing? And tells her to hang on tight, clobbering the bully upside the head, leaving both Jamie and Leslie dead in the hallway to lay in their own blood and foam. And when her mom says, Anais, she says there's no time to explain, we gotta go, and they dart down the hall back to the nurse's room. Keep in mind, Anais may look small and very young, and even though she is only 4 years old, she is a force to be reckoned with, and in the show, they show how much of a monster she can actually be, which is a trait she very much gets from her mother. Finally, they get back into the nurse's room, and Nicole hugs Anais, not being able to see her all day, and worried, she says, I'm glad you're safe. She even says, Anais, tell us what happened. How did this all start? Where's Gumball and Darwin? And sadly, Anais is traumatized thinking about what happened all earlier this day. Nicole, with tears in her eyes, hugs her, knowing what she has to say isn't good. Meanwhile, back in the hall, Principal Brown has found the bodies of the infected. and is spilling life, or should I say, joy back inside of them, reviving them, making the stakes of this situation 10 times worse. Then we're finally told what happened earlier that day, and most importantly, what happened to Gumball. Anais, telling her mom the story, told her it was a normal Monday, and then Darwin realized Gumball was in a grumpy mood. So Richard that morning said he's gonna give Gumball a hug to cheer him up, and they shrugged it off, thought nothing of it. And so later that day they started to realize at school Gumball was in the best mood he's ever been in. And especially because it was on a Monday, they started to grow more suspicious because he wouldn't act this way. Usually, especially in America, kids are more happier in school, especially on Fridays, because they have a whole weekend ahead of them. While usually Monday is the most depressing because it's the starting of the school week. But anyways, Gumball started to act very weird in class, making the other students become more uneasy. This eventually led Miss Simeon to be forced to send him to the principal's office, where Principal Brown would eventually take him to the nurse's office. And unsure if it's a prank or not, since it's Gumball, he gets a little close to him and then gets bit, and everything goes wrong after that.
After Gumball bit Principal Brown, the infection began to spread. And then Gumball mysteriously disappeared. During lunchtime, everyone was in the cafeteria, enjoying their usual fun, when suddenly Principal Brown burst in and attacked a student. From that moment on, the infection began to spread, and there was no escape. So far, we've learned that Gumball's grumpy mood led to a wonder hug from Richard, which was followed by Gumball biting Principal Brown, causing an infection. This infection escalated when Principal Brown attacked a student in the cafeteria, signaling the start of a spreading crisis with no escape in sight. What symptoms we were looking for? Early symptoms include red, puffy eyes with eyelids shimmering like a rainbow, an uncontrollable smile, and rainbow-colored saliva. Victims may also experience bulging veins, excessive sweating, hair loss, and, depending on the individual, abnormal body growth, with limbs stretching unnaturally. What can you do to help? Here is what you can do: cover up, find a way to blend in if you are in an area affected by the infection. Wash your hands frequently and be a helping hand for those struggling. If you encounter an infected person, you could run, but your best option is to protect yourself and prepare to fight. Consider gathering necessary weapons, and don't stop until they are no longer moving. Stay vigilant and ready. If you got infected, be prepared to separate yourself and accept your fate. It hurts to smile. There is no hope. Please help me. I can't stop smiling. 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 This is Anna's Daily Journal, and you just learned about the infection. Thank you for listening, and stay safe out there, and remember to be prepared.
So unfortunately, Principal Brown infected as many kids as he could. And luckily, Anais, Carmen, and Darwin got away. But the question is, where is Darwin? Who hasn't been seen since he fended off Gumball from his little sister. And all we know, Richard Watterson, who may or may not be infected, decided to give Gumball a quote-unquote wonder hug, which started all of this mayhem. May you remember to subscribe for the next part, as they're still updating it. Make sure to check out the description. God bless all of you people, and have a blessed day. Peace.